Crossing. We'll be talking much more about this company right up after the break. They emerged from Chapter 11 protection just this past week. They've managed to cut their debt by $12 billion now to $200 million in total. The business itself, well, it's a large business. It owns 100,000 miles of fiber optic network. It faces overcapacity, however, in the wholesale market, according to a lot of people out there. On top of that, also some analysts, they see some increasing risks of a pricing war really starting and perhaps taking off. We'll be talking more to the man who has led the company through the Chapter 11 process. That's John Legere. He is the relatively new CEO of the company. Again, that's Global Crossing that we'll be focusing on in just a couple of minutes' time. See you back then.
Back with you. This is Squawk on CNBC Europe. I'm Jeff Cutmore. Let's turn now to the telecom sector. U.S. telephone giant Global Crossing has this month emerged from Chapter 11 protection against bankruptcy. The new slimmed-down company has launched an advertising campaign and is once again looking for customers. John Legere is the CEO of Global Crossing. He joins us. John, nice to see you again this side of the Atlantic.
Great to see you, Jeff.
Developments then on Global Crossing, a story that we've all watched with interest. Tell us a little bit about the process of getting you back into the market.
Well, 681 days we were in Chapter 11, and in that process we went through an incredible restructuring of the business. Headline, of course, you showed here is the debt level has gone down significantly.
Yep.
In the meantime, though, we also reduced operating expenses from about $175 million a month down to $58 million. CapEx went from a high of $4.1 billion in 2001 to about $200 million this year. So we're in a good spot from an operating standpoint. Impressively, though, employees were as high as about 17,000 people in total. Now they're about 4,300 outside our Marine division, but customer satisfaction's up 20%. Service provisioning's down from 69 days on average to 18 days sales outstanding from 70 to 50, which means we're in a much better shape. Customers are more pleased. Customers stayed with us. And services revenue went from about $3 billion in 2001 to only about $2.9 billion in 2002. So customers stayed with us. Employees are battle ready. And our new investors have really showed their commitment to the company. So it's time to move on.
Is the market ready, though? Has the capacity come out of this industry? We've all got used to talking about the telecom sector as a train wreck that's still waiting to be pulled apart by the recovery crews.
I've been on here with you a few times, Jeff, and we always talk about capacity. And when we talk about capacity, we usually think about the genesis of Global Crossing, which is submarine layer capacity. Well, the big news in the world right now is IP. And so if you look at Global Crossing, we connect 500 cities in the world on 50 continents. But it's not just a fiber layer. We've got a fully meshed MPLS backbone on top of that fiber. Big word. On top, an IP ecosystem that allows people to talk to customers and suppliers around the world. IP is growing 80% a year right now, and Global Crossing is growing 200%. We went from 2 million minutes a month of voice over IP when we started this process. We're now doing 2 billion minutes a month. And our IP traffic went from 11 gigabits when we started this process. Now it's 90. That's the layer that's really growing, and the world is very ready for that.
John, let me just back you up a minute here, because there will be some eyes that started to glaze over when you got into some of the technical terms here, and we're not all as familiar with the technology as you are. But give me a sense of what this means really in terms of business. I mean, we've looked at AT&T with the voice over internet protocol that they've just launched. BT has done something similar in the UK here. We're all trying to understand what is the next big revenue driver here. Is this where you're keyed into?
The next play is IP. Now, in the world of internet protocol, this is where I've been predicting for years that disparate interconnected networks, which worked over history with voice, they don't work that way with IP. And of those 500 cities we connect, 200 of them we fully own and control, and the traffic never leaves our network. So if you remember historically, we used to serve enterprise customers, we still will, and carriers. We used to sell carriers capacity underlying their network. What's going to happen now is many players are going to re-globalize. They're going to move to IP, but they're not going to use their balance sheets. So what are the target markets for Global Crossing? It's still carriers, number one. Wireless players. Spend their money acquiring customers, let us carry the traffic. Let us use IP, and it'll be cheaper. Wireline carriers. The big players with large debt structures who need to serve their customers' IP globally, white label outsourcing, Global Crossing inside. And then multinational corporations who are at the same footprint as our network, right on IP and voice over IP, which is this new craze. It's just one application. A converged set of services on an IP network is very, very efficient. So think of voice over IP, think of IP data traffic, think of IP video conferencing. That's what Global Crossing is going to be all about.
John, does all of that make money? And if it makes money, how possible is it for you to impose pricing and raise margin here? Help us out with the metrics.
Yeah, and first of all, the telecommunications industry is not out of the woods yet. We're still working through, a lot of players are working through debt, a lot of players are still working through the consolidation aspects of the industry. But one of the big pressures on many players is whenever there's a shift from legacy services to new technology, then there's an impact on price, and then therefore there's an impact on margin. Well, we're not moving from legacy to IP. So a number of the players who are selling traditional services or ATM or frame relay moving to IP, there's some pain, there's a change in the cost structure. Now you see the downsizings. That's going to be some of the pain. That's not a big impact for Global Crossing because our whole world was built on native IP. What's this all leading to is just the same thing we were talking about 2 years ago. I always predicted IP, the world wasn't ready, neither were we, now we both are. And now we're once again going to see consolidation. So globalization, move to new technology, many players are going to start to come together. So briefly,
you're not going to make any money initially, but ultimately, as you get through that transition process, you expect it to be profitable. I mean, is that the shorthand? Am I reading it right there?
We're doing okay right now, and we're still using a little bit of cash as a company. When you leave 2004 into 2005, all aspects of our business are going to look very good.
Great. Louisa, come on in.
John, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that you used to employ over 11,000 people. You now employ right around 5,000 instead. So you've had to say goodbye to a large part of your employees for natural reasons. Have you had to say goodbye to a large part of your customers and the relationships that you have with suppliers, for example? How is that relationship now, and how is your relationship with your customers? Have you found that key customers have stayed along through the Chapter 11 process, or I mean, have you been able to emerge with key customers on the other side?
Yeah, that's a great set of questions. Importantly, the numbers are quite staggering, actually. When you take all aspects of our business, including Global Marine, Asia Global Crossing, pieces that we formerly managed, we had as many as 17,000 people. We now have 4,300 and another 1,000 in our Global Marine division, or about 800. Now, customers, the most important part for us, they stayed. As I said, when you look at $3 billion of services revenue in 2001, only going to 2.9 in 2002 at a time when prices were coming down about 25 to 30%. So customers stayed. Louisa, importantly, what we didn't get to do is acquire new customers. When you're restructuring, you don't acquire new customers, but we did sign 4,200 new contracts during restructuring for about $1.7 billion in new total contract value. What this is all about today is those customers now will expand and new customers will come with us. Around the world, though, we right now have business with about 40% of the Fortune 500 and 700 carriers and ISPs. So we've got a good, strong customer base, but right now this is all about expanding and delivering the promise that we were about to 2 years ago when we went into Chapter 11.
John, we shall wrap up with you there. Thank you very much for coming in to see us.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
John Legere, the CEO of Global Crossing.